welcome to another edition of the Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Mike L, Kevin Jank.
I'm here, Mr. Dell.
That's right. Tonight, we are reviewing a very special issue of Power Man.
Yeah, Luke Cage Power Man.
Issue 29, 1975. Is there another Power Man besides? I mean, I know there's a Power Man that he fought in this series to get control of the name Power Man.
Oh, look at that.
Was that name ever used? Because I almost picked that issue. Was this name ever used for other characters?
Of course, because Marvel can't let anything fucking die. So once Luke Cage started just going by Luke Cage, then they tried bringing him back in like that Shadowland event probably about 12 years ago. And it was just some kid who like did something with his chi. It was like, all right, what is this bullshit?
Wait. Yeah, I was going to say that's the same thing with Iron Fist.
Yeah. I don't know. I was like, what the fuck is the point of this?
Well, that stinks. Now I mentioned last week on the show, this is from 1975. We've done a Luke Cage, Power Man and Iron Fist issue here on the show. And I'd written a Heroes for Hire Luke Cage article for Comic Book Syndicate.
Very memorable one.
Yeah, where he needs to get $200 off Dr. Doom. It's a pretty great issue. But just to recap quickly for the people who don't remember, of course, Luke Cage, a Hero for Hire, issue 1 was in 1972. The character was created by Archie Goodwin, George Tuska, Roy Thomas, and John Romita Sr., so it took 4 people.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of artists.
Well, I think John Romita designed the costume. And then George
Please tell me there was like one artist who just came up with the tiara. Like, this is my
I'm guessing that was John Romita. Of course, Luke Cage was the first black American superhero to star in his own series. He was renamed Power Man with issue 17. He became Power Man and the book became Power Man and Iron Fist with issue 50. And then the series ended with issue 125 in 1986. And of course, without Luke Cage, there is no Nick Cage. Because
that's true.
Nick Cage took his name from Luke Cage. So, look at that.
Wow. What a world we could have lived in.
Yes. And this issue here today, he fights a guy named Mr. Fish.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. Mr. Fish.
I mean,
sadly,
we did that supervillain team up recently with 2 of the big heavy hitter villains of the Marvel Universe, but really it should have been Mr. Fish teaming up with different people every month.
Yeah, that was Dr. Doom and Red Skull. Should have been Mr. Fish. And what's his little buddy's name in this? Shrike or something, I think.
Shrike, yeah.
Yeah. Little Gary Coleman guy. So, all right. But this is Mr. Fish. And sadly, this is the first and final appearance of Mr. Fish.
Oh, man. Yeah, it did look kind of final there at the end. I wasn't sure. Yeah. I was like, they must have gone back.
You know what? I didn't research that. I just assumed from the way the issue ended that this was...
Oh, I'm sure they've resurrected Mr. Fish.
Now's the part of the show where we have to Google things because I just want to confirm.
Let a good fish go to waste. It'll stink up the whole place.
His first and final appearance of Mr. Fish. I think it was. I don't think his Wikipedia page. Oh wait a minute. During the Devil's Reign storyline, Mr. Fish was seen as an inmate of the Myrmidon, whatever the fuck that word is. Myrmidon. Moon Knight fought him in one of the prison matches and defeated him.
Oh, so I guess he's back.
Mr. Fish turns up alive during the all-new, all-different Marvel relaunch to warn Tombstone that the Black Cat will be targeting him and his criminal empire during an upcoming gang war to control Harlem.
Oh, yeah, when the Black Cat went back to being an evil doer and was trying to become a mobster.
So that's when they brought him back.
Huh. Look at that. I knew they had to bring him back eventually. He's too good to just let him go to waste.
Wait a minute, there's more on this Wikipedia page. Bill Norris, the first Mr. Fish's similarly mutated brother, was introduced visiting an exotic nightclub with the walrus. What the fuck am I reading right now? He subsequently joined the Flash Mob, a group of power opponents of Luke Cage during Shadowland. Hey, you just mentioned that, didn't you?
Yeah. How the hell?
So I guess it was Mr. Fish's brother who was
Yeah, just
similarly
happened to get
mutated.
those same isotopes or whatever. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, we'll get into Mr. Fish's backstory as we go through the book because they explain it for us. But yeah, so not only is there Mr. Fish apparently has a brother. And his known powers and ability, Mr. Fish has enhanced strength and a fish-like appearance.
Yeah, accurate. Truth in advertising right there.
Equipment, Mr. Fish wielded a gun. That is true.
Yeah, a fancy laser gun. I don't know where he got that from becoming a fish man. I don't know how that was
you
part
think
of it.
being a like a gangster down in Harlem, he would just have like a 45 or something. No, he's a laser gun.
And he also does not dress like a gangster anymore. Now he's dressing like, I don't know, some kind of...
Oh, wait a minute here, Jake. A variation of the Mortimer Norris version of Mr. Fish, and that would be the one we're reading here today, appears in season 2 of Luke Cage. Well, he still has the
It's called Mr. Fish, but...
Yeah. Well, he still has the nickname Mr. Fish. He does not possess any superhuman abilities and resembles a normal man. Well, that stinks.
Yeah, you're fucking ruining it. What's the point then?
He and his gang approach Misty Knight and Colleen Wing while they are having drinks at a bar, and plans to assault Misty as retaliation for sending his brother Bill to Dannemora. Is that a prison?
I'm guessing. Man, the show would have been so much better if there was...
I know, because I didn't even watch season 2. Did you watch season 2?
I did, but it wasn't very good. This would have saved it if he was just the villain, just a talking fish man.
Yeah, I liked season 1 of Luke Cage. It was okay, you know. I liked the guy. The guy was likable, but I don't know if he was a great actor.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I could see that. He didn't have quite the attitude that Luke Cage normally does.
Yeah, I really like to see him. Yes, he seemed like the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah,
I don't know if
which is nice. I mean, that's cool and all, but not quite the character.
Luke Cage to have a little bit more fire in the belly. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're saying here. But and hey, we did get that great song out of season 1, that "Long Live the Chief." Remember that?
Yeah,
I love that song.
Is that about the tribal chief?
I hope so. Because on this podcast we acknowledge the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. But anyway, so there it is. That's the backstory for this book. Let's look at the cover there, Jake. And this cover is drawn by Ron Wilson and Tom Palmer. Mm-hmm. The creative team behind this book, I should say, is Bill Mantlo and George Tuska. Yeah, we might as well talk about them now a little bit since we've talked about them many times on the show. But Bill Mantlo, I said last week, it's tough to get around Bill Mantlo because he writes so much. He has 664 writing credits at Marvel.
Oh my God,
that's a lot. A lot of work. We've done Bill Mantlo's backstory on the show. It's a tragic backstory, but you can go. I can't even remember what the first issue we did with Mantlo would be, but. We've talked about it here in the past. And sometimes I act like I don't want to read Bill Mantlo because but we did encounter some bad Bill Mantlo. But I think the last couple, I actually, spoiler alert, I like this one. And then there's a couple other ones what we've done. I think issue 1 of Micronauts he did was pretty strong. So it's not like he's terrible. It's just we've done a lot of Mantlo, so we're trying to branch out.
Yeah, got to mix it up once in a while.
But again, he was known as the fill-in king for Marvel because they used to, before Jim Shooter came around and started cracking the whip, they were always missing deadlines. And that's exactly what they did for this issue. So Bill Mantlo had this, he would just write a bunch of stories and then they put them in whenever they needed them. So he also did
was the regular artist, right? So he also did this weird backup that they just stuck in there?
Yeah, kind of. He was semi-regular artist.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But Mantlo also did Power Man 27 and 29. So those are the 2 issues he did. This one and 27. George Tuska, 335 Marvel penciling credits. So that's a bunch. And he did Power Man's issue 17 to 20, 24, 26, 28, 29, and 47. So he was kind of doing like every other issue there for a while.
Okay.
But yeah, so semi-regular. But George Tuska, we've talked about him before on the show. He's an old school kind of guy, more like in the lines of Kirby and Isama. So I always like George Tuska stuff.
Did he do that Masters of the Universe we did?
I believe so. That sounds
Yeah.
about right. I think he definitely at least did the cover, I would say, because I remember that cover. So, but yeah, so George Tuska, old school guy. I like his stuff. All right, so the cover here, Jank, why don't you describe it for the people?
Let's see. So we got a black background with a red Marvel Comics Group banner up at the top there. It says Power Man next to it. We got the issue number, but then no real character box there up in the corner. Just a circle that has the full body shot of Luke Cage in there.
Yeah, that's what they were doing like in the 70s there for a bit.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. And it looks pretty good. And this is Luke Cage, Power Man. Like the Luke Cage is kind of normal writing, but then Power Man, they kind of amped it up a little bit.
Yeah, because again, it used to be Luke Cage, hero for hire. That was his whole gimmick. He was in prison, wrongly accused, of course, right? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm trying to remember those things.
Yeah.
And he underwent an experiment in prison in order to get like an early release or something, and it gave him skin that is unbreakable, can't be cut, no bullets can harm him, and he also got more strength and everything.
Yeah.
And he got a really cool yellow silk shirt and a tiara, and yellow boots, and a chain belt. So he's pretty badass.
He's a man up your alley there with that chain belt. No shoelace, but
only a shoelace belt. But so yeah, Luke Cage, Power Man. Take it away, Jake.
So then it says here he is, the most frightful villain ever. There's an arrow pointing right at our guy, Mr. Fish, who is throttling the hell out of Luke Cage, just holding him over the edge of a building. While Luke Cage says, Mr. Fish says, sorry, you shouldn't make jokes about my looks, Cage. Nobody laughs at Mr. Fish.
Yeah, nobody laughs at Mr. Fish. I like this cover though, good perspective on it, and hanging over the
looks good.
Yeah, the camera's looking down, so you can see the street below. Luke is struggling there, and Mr. Fish. Yeah, he's wearing like a little red underpants, and then like a red shirt and a red vest.
Yeah, he dresses like a He-Man villain.
Yes, yeah, very much.
Like a New York gangster.
That is exactly right. He is dressed exactly like a He-Man villain. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's green, and he looks kind of like he's got a big fin down the center of his head, and little fin kind of ears on the side of his face, and a big fish mouth and teeth. And I don't know, scales.
About the color scheme and just the weirdness of the outfit also makes him look like Bucky O'Hare if he was a fish man instead of a rabbit.
Yeah, if you squint, you're like, oh yeah, could be Bucky O'Hare. So yeah, do you think he's the most frightful villain ever? Now keep in mind this is 1975. So
yeah, obviously, yeah. Look at all that thigh he's showing. That's pretty scary.
What a world that must have been if you look at Mr. Fish and, oh my God, this is the most frightful villain I've ever seen. What a simpler time.
Surprised they got the comics code to sign off on that one.
So, but I like the cover. It's good stuff. And then we open up the book, and again, this is Boisterous Bill Mantlo, Gorgeous George Tuska. These are the credits.
Yeah.
Venturesome Vince Coletta on inks. Kittenish Karen M on lettering. Dandy Don W on colorist. But I like how the letterer and the colorist, they don't even get their last names. They're not even putting your last name in there.
Yeah.
Marvelous Marv Wolfman is the editor. So we see Luke Cage standing, he's outside, he's like on a dock somewhere outside Hudson Truck, the company. And apparently he was hired by Hudson Trucking because people were blowing up their trucks.
Yeah.
So he was hired to do security. But he's also, it's the nighttime and he's watching the trucks. But he's also in his internal monologue, he's thinking, this job stinks. I should be doing more than this. I'm broke. I don't have any money. Because that was his job when he came out of prison there. He was a hero for hire. You had a job for a hero, you hired. Boom. That's why Dr. Doom owed him $200. I can't remember why Dr. Doom would hire Luke Cage.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like that's the kind of guy he would hire, but whatever.
$200. So anyway, Luke's just hanging out there with his tiara on.
He's way behind on rent, so he's got to do whatever it takes.
Take any job he can. but he hears something. He's like, uh-oh, what's that? What's going on back there? And then he turns around. Kathoom! Just a big splash page of the truck blowing up. And he says, "Sweet jumping Christmas."
that was one of the best parts of his, yeah.
Yeah. The early days, he always did some variation of Sweet Christmas.
All the crazy, exclamations were great.
I went back and years ago, I think when that series was about to start, I'd read the original run of here, like at least probably the first 10, 15 issues of Heroes for Hire. I enjoyed them. I thought they were good stuff.
Yeah. And they didn't even have Mr. Fish yet, so.
Yeah.
How much better it got.
So he sees that the truck exploded, and then he's thinking back in his mind how he got hired for this job, and explain what's going on with these truckers there, Jank. Because it seems like someone's fucking them up pretty bad.
Yeah. It looks like the one guy, his arm's in a sling. One of them's just kind of pounding his fist on the thing, like, you gotta stop this Mr. Fish for us. And the one guy, he just unbuttons his shirt out of nowhere. You're like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
A meeting to just unbutton your shirt. But he's like, oh yeah, look at this. I got a big red X on my chest now. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Like why Mr. Fish marked him like a treasure map or something.
Yeah. It's really not that. It's a nice looking X. You know, it's like neat in order. It's not.
I mean, his wife doesn't appreciate it. Apparently she gets sick every time she looks at it, but yeah, it's pretty well drawn.
So, yeah, he is upset that his wife gets bad. So Luke's like, man, I gotta, this doesn't look for me here. They hired me to watch these trucks, and that truck just blew up. That's not good. So, but then he sees a shadowy figure running away, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I'm gonna go chase that fella. So he's chasing him, but he gets conked on the head with I don't know what that is. It looks like wood, huh? I was gonna say it's probably a metal bar, but.
Yeah, it's just wood, which, I mean, really shouldn't hurt him at all, to be honest.
But it knocks him down. But he gets up though, and the guy's like, what the hell? He should be dead from that. So the guy jumps over a fence to get away, and Luke Cage just punches right through the fence.
Yeah.
I was a little confused by this. Like, did you follow this exactly properly? Like,
no, because then where did that guy go? Did he, I mean, I guess he knew the hole was there, but how did he, avoid the hole?
Yeah, so when Luke punches through the fence, there's a hole on the other side, and he falls into it. And maybe because that guy jumped.
I do that. He lured me right into it.
Yeah, it didn't really make a lot of sense because this is just a guy. It's not like Spider-Man jumping over that fence. He would have landed on the other side, like where the big hole was. So,
yep.
Yeah, I was confused by that. But anyway, Luke dusts himself off, and he runs after the guy, and but then he turns a corner, and what does he see, Jack?
Well, there's a whole group of fellas there ready to get him, but smack dab in the middle, we got Mr. Fish. A giant fish man is just standing there with a weird ray gun in his shoulder holster.
Yep. And his little He-Man outfit. And and he's got his little buddy next to him.
Yep. His little Gary Coleman buddy.
And
very thick accent. Which
his name is
on racism, I think.
Perhaps. Can't yo tell, Mr. Cage? This here's the boss. The head man of Magia operations in this here part of New York. Kind of funny for you to drop in on him like this, Mr. Cage. Yeah. Pretty good. And then, but Mr. Fish, he's like, this is a great big splash page. And we got Luke in the bottom right, corner and big spread of Mr. Fish looking awesome by George Tuska. And, Mr. Fish is saying, there's nothing funny about it at all, Shrike. Mr. Cage and I would have had to have met eventually. And in case you also see some humor in your situation, Mr. Cage, allow me to point out to you that no one laughs at Mr. Fish.
Yeah, which I wish they would have played that up more. Like, it's really the only time he says it. This and the cover. But I wish that was more of a running thing with him.
But there's a panel there in the bottom right, and Cage is looking shocked and horrified. And he says, I ain't laughing, bro. In fact, looking at you has just about made me sick.
Now I know how that guy's wife feels when she sees that act.
What a shot at Mr. Fish. So, what happens here, Jack?
So Mr. Fish has his buddies start shooting at Luke Cage, and that doesn't really do anything because he can take the impact. But I
and
guess
it looks like they have
not
fancy
the
ray
skin,
guns
but
too. Are these fancy ray guns as well?
No, I think those are just regular bullets. Because yes, it says the slugs ain't penetrating, but the impact is almost more than I can bear.
But those are some weird looking guns.
Yeah, they're definitely like more futuristic than normal
Yes.
guns. Or one of them kind of looks like a squirt gun, to be honest, but with the big hole and just like a tube. It's like, yeah, one of those ones you use in the pool.
Super soaker deal. Yeah, but the fight keeps going, so yeah, take it away.
So yeah, he's like, now you're just gonna have to work on dying. And then Luke Cage fights back. He punches dude in the face, breaks one of their fancy guns, and tosses one of the guys across the place. And he's just like, yeah, I'm not bothering with you guys. It's Mr. Fish I want. You're just in the way. But then little Gary Coleman jumps on him, and he's so scrappy and wiry that even though he can't damage Luke Cage at all, he's just annoying the hell out of him.
This reminds me of, yeah, he's like a little spider monkey jumping on his head. But this reminds me of, what was that movie we watched? Jingle All the Way on the LCS Hockey Show. We watched that. Arnold Schwarzenegger's in a Santa Claus factory. And didn't Vern Troyer jump on his head or something like this in a similar fashion?
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's exactly what this was.
So yeah, but he's just jumping on Cage's shoulders.
I mean, he's on Luke Cage's head. There's not a lot of place for him to go. Like, how can he not manage to grab this guy?
He's so
not really anywhere he can.
They can't grab him. But yeah, he's distracting Cage, and then Mr. Fish says, "Hey,
my stuff is ready." Which,
yeah,
I don't know about that.
But by stuff he means his laser gun, and he pulls it out. And he says, and Mr. Cage is a dead man. So Shrike jumps out of the way, and he shoots Cage, and Cage is knocked out. He's KO'd.
Yep.
And his little yellow satin shirt there is shredded. Yeah.
Oh, man. It was barely covering anything as it was, but, now he's going to look like a slob.
Now, this is a little confusing.
Like a flounder.
Because you already got him, knocked out with his laser gun, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to kill Luke Cage, Jank, how would you do it?
Let's see. You got to get through that skin. So you probably go in through his eyeballs.
Well, I don't know if those are. I think they might even be protected.
Well, I think those are vulnerable.
But if he's knocked out by that one shot, maybe just stand there and keep shooting him in the head with that laser. See what happens.
Yeah, the laser works. Unless it's some kind of a stun laser. When I guess, maybe
that's
kill him.
Or maybe, I don't know, just throw him in a river.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But what do they decide to do?
They're going to throw him off a building that's being built. Yeah.
So it takes 4 guys to pick him up because he's very heavy, this Luke Cage,
Mm-hmm.
And they lug him up this building, and like you said, it's a building under construction, so there's an elevator on the side of it and stuff. And they get in there, and they're all just in this cage. And this is weird too. Mr. Fish is lounging in this elevator, and he just keeps his right hand on the top of Shrike's head, like the little guy's head.
It's true.
Like he's palming a basketball.
It's like he's forcing him to watch, but he wants to watch.
Yeah, it's like his little pet. And it's very
I think he's got a dart in the other hand. Firing off a dart.
Look, he might as well, the way he's standing. But this Shrike, this little fella, he's like, Cage is a mean one, Mr. Fish. So they decide they're going to take him to the edge of the building. They tie him up in some cables, too.
Yeah. Apparently this laser only knocks him out for, 4 minutes. However long it takes him to get up there.
And they're smacking him around while he's all tied up, And he's like, but here's where we get the flashback. Because before he kills Luke Cage, he has to tell him, he says, you are about to die, Mr. Cage. You still do not know who I am. I hate having a man die with a question in his mind. And Cage says, "Hey, friend, I could care less." But then they smack him, and he says, "No one asked you, Mr. Cage." So, of
I like
course,
that he's like, I got to tell you who I am. Like, what do you mean? You already said you're Mr. Fish. He already
now,
knows. He doesn't know your backstory, but he knows who you are.
well, Mr. Fish makes sure all the readers know that backstory. So he paints a picture and walk us through it, Jake. How did Mr. Fish become Mr. Fish?
So he was strictly small time, Mr. Cage, penny ante burglary, until one night down at the docks on Fulton Street. That's it, the truck that's supposed to be carrying the isotope that Magia wants. The driver was so caught up in his funny book, he didn't even hear me coming, which by funny book, he's reading a Playboy.
Yes,
and
that's funny one.
Mr. Fish fucking kills this guy while he's looking for a picture to masturbate to. That's the indignity of that. I like that.
I like if you notice the Playboy itself, the back cover features a fetching young lass in a bikini, and the front cover just shows a close up of a lady's ass in a bikini bottom. That's
That's a classic Playboy shot right there.
Yes, just an ass. Playboy. So
they were really
right.
hurting that month, apparently.
So this guy, this Mr. Fish, when he's just a normal fella, what does he do to the guy reading the Playboy?
Yeah, he just shoots him.
Shoots
Poor
him
guy.
right.
Trying to look at a naked lady, and now he's dead.
Even that gun looks like a bit like a laser gun. I think George Tuskett just had a weird way of drawing guns.
Yeah, it's true. But then he goes in the back of the truck, and he's like, "It's in one of these crates, brothers. Our ticket to paradise." They busted in there and tore at the boxes, and out is the first to locate the isotope. And he says, "Hey, man, it's glowing. Wonder if it's poison. I feel kind of dizzy, kind of hot. I'm burning up. Can't stand it. Gotta get out." Very natural dialogue. And so he grabs the isotope, and it starts making him burn. So he jumps out into the ocean, and the others fled as I, glowing from the contaminating isotope, dove into the filthy waters of the East River.
Yeah, East River.
And a couple hours later, I guess the other two guys are looking for him, or maybe these are just random guys.
I think they're just random dudes, right?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because it's several hours later, and these guys are just happening to come by and see that the water is boiling. So they try to reach down and see what's going on down there, as you do when there's dangerous shit going on in the ocean.
Bubbling East River. I'm not sticking my hand in it. This guy does.
Yeah, he's a brave soul. But he gets grabbed by a fish arm, which is unusual, and then they flee. And then he comes out of the water because these guys were screaming and stuff, so you know something's up. And he says, "I knew instinctively that I would never be the same again." And we just see a shot of him in all of his fish glory with some tattered clothes coming out of the dock.
Yeah. Before he got his cool little outfit, his He-Man outfit. So then Luke Cage says, "That was all real interesting, Fish Face. Now, if you don't mind, that is, I'd like to die before I have to listen to another one of your boring stories." Your words have sealed your fate, Cage. Take 'em. Come on, boys. You heard the man. Take me. You asked for it, wise guy.
Time to recover from that ray by telling him your life story.
So they just shove him off the building. And while he's falling, Cage says, "I couldn't do nothing as long as Fish had his blaster on me, and I was surrounded by his toughs. So I had to gamble on them finishing me off this way. This cable they trust me with is the easy part." He just rips it apart, because he's so strong. Yeah. But everything hinges on me grabbing that beam sticking out down there. So that was his plan. Just to have him throw me off the building, and then hopefully there will be a giant I-beam sticking out of this building, and I can just grab it while I'm falling down, because that'll be easy to do. Just grabbing that I-beam.
Not even like, maybe I'll use the cable, try to hook on with that. Yeah. Something. No, just gonna try to grab it. No, for the best.
He does grab the I-beam, and he's like, and holding on for it for dear life. My arm. Sudden strain too much. Feels like I pulled my shoulder right out of its socket.
Yeah, this picture right here reminded me so much of O.J. Simpson as Norberg. Just the look of pain on his face.
I can actually see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get some little little black lightning bolt kind of deals coming out of his shoulder too. It looks like, or is that there's just action lines on the right there.
Yeah, I think those are probably pain.
Yeah. So then Shrike says, "Too bad Yo's still alive, Mr. Cage." How come, Shrike? The man, and what does Shrike say? Because the fall would have been easy compared to what we's going to do to y'all now. This Shrike guy talks big, you know?
I know. I don't know what he can possibly do other than jump on his head and annoy him to death.
And he's just charging at Luke Cage with a stick. like a wooden stick. That's what yes, that's going to stop Luke Cage. So Luke Cage just ducks.
Yeah.
Shrike is jumping head first into a steel girder, splang, and knocks himself unconscious. So that's not good.
Nope. The Shrike. All talk.
And then Luke just starts smacking them all around, you know, because he's a tough guy. Like, he's gone crazy. And Mr. Fish says, crazy or not, my blaster stopped him once before, and he shoots him right in the belly. It will stop him again. But what happens now, Jack? What's different now?
For some reason, Luke Cage just shrugs this one off.
Yeah. I guess he flexed his abs or something. He's like, got really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. There's no real explanation given as to why this works this time, but.
So then Cage comes over and just cracks Mr. Fish. And this was kind of a weird panel because Mr. Fish's head is falling back after getting punched, and we see Luke Cage's fist, and we see Luke Cage's face, but everything else is like a yellow explosion of power. So it's a unique way of doing it.
Save on time, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to drink body.
I like the next panel, Mr. Fish's face, though. That's awesome. Look at that.
Yeah, looks really good.
He's like, no, I'm not done yet. You're not the only one possessing power, Cage. And he does a Roman Reigns spear. 2 Roman Reigns references in this episode. And he spears Luke Cage, tackles him to the edge of the building. So this is exactly what we saw there at the cover, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Exactly.
And holding him over the edge of the building. Oh, and then we get an interruption here. Spider-Man and the Kidnap Caper, where some guys kidnapped Aunt May, but then Spider-Man freed her with Twinkies.
Yep. Instead of giving them the ransom, he just gave them a briefcase full of Twinkies. And then he said, while transporting Aunt May away, he's like, meanwhile, Aunt May and I will duck out of here while he's dressed like Spider-Man. That sounds weird that he's calling her Aunt May.
So, getting back to our regularly scheduled program, Luke Cage cracks Mr. Fish with an uppercut. Then he throws Mr. Fish. So Mr. Fish is taking a beating here, but he picks up a steel girder. He's like, all right there, Mr. Cage. And he cracks him in the arm, his damaged arm, you know, because he's working the injured arm, you know, throughout the match. He's selling it like, oh, my arm's hurt. So they're working the arm, and then Mr. Fish makes a questionable decision. What does he do, Jack?
Well, he takes the steel beam and he's just like, I'm going to run at this guy. Just run him through with this steel beam. And then Luke Cage, though, decides to move at the last second, and he screams as he's being flipped over the edge, no, you weren't supposed to move. You're just supposed to sit there while I run you through. Seems logical.
So Mr. Cage, it almost like he gives him a back body drop. I got a lot of wrestling references in this. But but Mr. Fish jumps right over Luke Cage, and we see him falling through the building, dropping the I-beam. And then Luke Cage looks down at him and says, goodbye, Mr. Fish. Crummy way to go, man. But it's the same as what you wanted from me, so I can't feel too bad about it. But what was it all for, Cage? I mean, you just spent one whole Saturday night surrounded by killers, corruption, and freaks. Sounds like a pretty good night, actually. It's bound to make a difference. It's bound to make a difference in the way you feel. Bound to make you wonder why the blazes you're in this gig in the first place. Can't be the money, because I never seem to make any. Can't be the fame, because there's even less of that. But there's just got to be something in it, I think. And the final panel is Mr. Fish dead on the ground with the steel beam on top of him. So he also got crushed by the steel beam as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even more indignity.
But
Alias comic later on, I think what was really in this for Luke Cage that he's wondering about here is all the poontang that he gets because apparently he's a legendary coxman in the Marvel universe. I don't think there's a woman in a costume that he hasn't had sex with.
Really? I had no idea. I knew about Jessica Jones, but I didn't know he was making his way through the whole Marvel continuity. Oh, look at you, Marv.
They called him like a cape chaser or something like that.
But what I like is that speech. Can't be for the money, because I never seem to make any. Can't be for the fame, because there's even less of that. That's exactly how I feel about doing these fake radio shows.
Yeah.
There's got to be something in it, I think.
Yeah. 14 years in, not yet, but someday.
So then it says, next issue, a return to her Piranha Jones adventure, in which the musical question is asked, look what they've done to our lives, Ma. Hey, can we get a direct address in the Ma there? Come on. Lives, Ma. Mama before the Ma. Nice. But yeah, this was a fill-in issue, and they did address that on the first page.
Yeah.
That
so there's like some big cliffhanger or something right before this, and then you get the story. I can't imagine people were happy about that, but normally this issue, I mean, would be great. But if you're in the middle of a story, it's like, oh, I got this weird guy.
Yeah, the disclaimer at the front here in the openings page. As much as we hate to say it, pilgrims, we have to inform you that the dreaded deadline doom has struck again, this time making Power Man its victim right in the middle of our cliffhanging saga that began last issue. Believe us, Marvel Maniacs, no one regrets it more than us. However, while you're waiting for the continuation of that Titanic tale, glom your eyes on this brand new blockbuster.
And it was.
70s were awesome.
Yeah, that's true. I can't even argue with that. It was a fun time.
I love this issue, Jack. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
This is everything I want in a comic book. A good hero, Luke Cage, he's got problems like everybody else. He's trying to make the money, trying to make his rent. Then you get a crazy villain, Mr. Fish, a little wise guy like Shrike, a lot of punching. I love punching.
Yep, there sure was punching.
There's like a laser gun,
There's a He-Man outfit.
They're throwing Luke Cage off a building for no apparent reason. That was pretty great. I love this.
Really doing all this for free because there's no way anyone's paying him now that he let that truck get blown up.
The forced exposition about Mr. Fish's backstory was great. What really made it awesome was how Luke Cage says,
"This is one and only appearance, apparently." So
yeah,
if you're not doing it now.
What I really liked about it is Luke Cage saying, "I don't want to hear this," and he tells him anyway. And he's like, "That was so fucking boring." So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, you see, you can't picture the guy from the TV show saying that. He would listen to him and be like, "Oh, let's talk about our feeling."
Yeah, that guy had no personality whatsoever. But this is great, and I thought Mantler did a good job because again, this is a fill-in issue. This is exactly the kind of thing you want. Little self-contained issue, the crazy villain, a bunch of fights, and a clear ending. And you could also Mantler did a good job here because you could plug this in anywhere in Luke Cage's continuity. And it would work. You could just plug it. That's the ideal fill-in issue. Because he's dealing with those things he's always dealing with, the lack of money, trying to make his way in the world. And then at the end, you get the other introspection about, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? So you could throw that in anywhere and it's going to work. And it was great.
Yeah, normally fill-ins are pretty shitty because they don't have anything to do with anything. But at least this was fun. Like, it probably didn't have anything to do with anything, but at least it was a fun time.
Yeah. Although the guy he was fighting, Piranha Jones, I believe his name is, he doesn't look like well, that's weird, Piranha Jones and Mr. Fish. But Piranha, he didn't really look like a fish. He looked like a guy, but he had like teeth like a piranha.
Oh.
So,
yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is weird that there was Mr. Fish sandwiched in the Piranha Jones.
I didn't even think of that.
Real theme.
George Tuska's art here, he's always solid, and I really liked it. This is what I want in a comic book art as well. Good energy, a lot of action. Yeah.
I think
like
you're
how
overselling it a little bit, but yeah, it was
I
good.
loved it. This is what I love in comic book. This is the kind
He
of comic
draws a
book
good Mr. Fish, that's for
I
sure.
absolutely love. And yeah, he's a notch below the true greats, but he's super solid. And a lot of action here, so does a good job with it. Yeah, that close up of Mr. Fish was great. There's a couple great Luke Cage shots in here. So I really love this issue, Jank.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fight you on that one. This was a good time.
Yeah, now this rating might seem high to most people, but again, this is everything I look for in a comic. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10. Yeah.
You know what? I was thinking that. I think you talked me into it. I think I'll go 9 as well.
Look at that. 2 9s.
I can't complain. This is good.
Because at first I was like, oh, maybe an 8. But then I'm like, wait, this has everything I love about comic books. Why am I knocking it down to? So 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. So solid stuff. All right, Jank. Well, try to top that.
There's one other thing. I like when he punches through that wood fence and falls in the hole. It says Stram, which I thought was strange. Like, what kind of a noise is Stram?
There were some good sound effects in this. Like when that truck exploded, I thought it was going to be Cthulhu because I read the K and the T, but no, it's Katwoom with a W. Katwoom.
That explosion had a speech impediment.
Yeah, this is great. Also, the cover's great, and it has the dialogue in the cover, which I always love, and it has that little Eris. So everything about this book is awesome. If I keep talking about it, I'm going to give it a 10. So I'm going to stop right now. All right. But next week, Jack, try to top that.
Oh, I won't. We're going to go from the heights of you loving it to the depths of you probably hating it. I think I'm going to go with, I know you and Mike L. did Justice League of America back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
But what we're going to do is the later Justice League series, which became known as Justice League International after issue 7. But we're going to do, right before then, we're going to do issue number 5 of the Justice League from 1987.
Justice League 5 from 1987.
Yep.
So this wasn't confused with the other Justice League series?
No, I think this was like an attempt to, as they always try to do, modernize the Justice League. This was post-crisis and everything, so.
Okay.
This was a very different take, where unfortunately a lot of the good members are not there. But you know who is? Batman.
Oh, son of a bitch. This is the first Batman since Mike L. left. I got excited there for a second because I thought you were going to say, I know you don't like Justice League, but I want to go Justice Society because I do love Justice Society.
Yeah.
So I thought that was going to be but no, Justice.
No dice.
All right, Justice League issue 5, 1987. So thank you, Jank. Till next week, don't get any jank on you.